Today, we're stepping inside the digital evidence room, and trust me, it's a place that's being completely reinvented. We're talking about the mountains of data that our devices create and how artificial intelligence is basically becoming the new super sleuth for investigators. So how on earth does it all work? Well, let's get into it.
Here's what we've got on the agenda. First, we'll get a handle on the sheer scale of the problem that investigators are up against. Then, we'll introduce the AI-powered solution. Take a look inside its toolbox, walk through the actual workflow, and finally, we'll peek under the hood at the tech that makes it all tick.
All right, first up, the digital evidence overload. This really is the heart of the problem, and it sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about today.
And, that's not some kind of exaggeration. Just picture it. A single case could have multiple phones, a couple of laptops, maybe a tablet or two. We're talking terabytes upon terabytes of information. Texts, photos, location pings, app history, it's a total digital tsunami. And for the longest time, investigators have basically been handed a bucket and a spade to deal with it.
So that tsunami creates some pretty specific hurdles. To find something as simple as, say, who talked about the meeting on Tuesday, an investigator can't just ask. Nope. They have to manually dig through all this fragmented data, trying to piece everything together one by one. It's not just slow. It means critical connections, the really important stuff, can get missed. And that's just the text. Without smart analysis, every single image is just a black box. Its content's totally invisible.
So with a challenge this massive, a new kind of partner is showing up in the evidence room. Let's go ahead and meet the AI detective.
And that's its mission right there. The goal isn't just about making things faster, it's about completely revolutionizing how investigations get done. It's about taking these universal forensic extraction device reports, we call them UFDRs, and turning them from a raw, messy data dump into a source of real, immediate insight.
And just so we're all on the same page here, a UFDR is basically the entire digital life of a device. I mean everything. Contacts, call logs, messages, photos, files, you name it. It is the raw material, the starting point for any modern digital investigation.
Okay, so the idea is powerful, for sure. But what's actually making it all work? Let's crack open the AI's toolbox and see what's inside. Think of this as the AI's special ops team. First, the ingestion engine vacuums up all that raw data and gets it organized. Then you have the ImageR, which is incredible. It acts like a photo analyst, actually reading the text inside an image. The entity linker is the one connecting the dots, figuring out that Bob in this text is the same Bobby in that email. The AI query processor lets you ask questions just like you're talking to a person. And finally, the dashboard puts it all on screen in a way that just makes sense.
Now, knowing the tools is one thing, but how does an investigator actually use them? Let's walk through the whole process, from that mountain of data to a single, clear insight.
The whole workflow is just so much smoother. The investigator uploads the raw files, those UFDRs. Then, instead of writing complex code, they just ask a question in plain English. That's when the AI toolbox we just saw kicks into high gear, processing, analyzing, and linking everything in the background. What they get back isn't some endless spreadsheet. It's an interactive graph that shows them the connections. This completely changes the game, turning the investigator from a data miner into a real analyst, and it all leads to a final, official report.
Now, for all of you who are curious about what's making this whole thing tick, let's take a quick look under the hood at the tech that's driving the system.
So, this is the part the user actually sees and touches. You've got technologies like React and TypeScript building a clean, intuitive interface. But the real magic, visually speaking, comes from tools like D3.js. That's what transforms all that raw data into those interactive evidence graphs we were talking about, making incredibly complex connections instantly obvious.
And this is the engine room. This is where the heavy lifting gets done. Now, you've got a standard database like PostgreSQL for the neat and tidy data. But the secret weapon, that's Neo4j, a graph database. It's designed from the ground up, not just to store data, but to map the complex relationships between all the different pieces of evidence. And that, right there, is the absolute heart of this whole system.
And here we have the brains of the operation. You've got large language models from OpenAI or Google that power that natural language understanding. But they're paired with some very specialized tools. Tesseract, for example, acts like a pair of eyes, reading text and images, while Spatie scans documents to automatically pull out key things like names, places, and organizations. Each one is a specialist, and they all work together to make sense of the chaos.
And that brings us full circle, doesn't it?
This isn't just about processing things faster, it's a fundamental change in what's even possible. It's about taking that chaotic storm of digital data and using AI to find the patterns, to see the connections, and ultimately to find the clarity that justice depends on.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. As these incredibly powerful AI tools become standard issue in the evidence room, what does that mean for things like privacy, for the speed of justice, and for the very nature of evidence itself? It's a brand new frontier, and the future of justice is literally being written as we speak. Thanks for joining me.